Hola! Been about 7 months since my last video. Not for the lack of trying. I have ideas. I have tons and tons of ideas. I just poorly execute them because I'm a big old procrastinator. Like for instance, this video right here that I'm doing, this is mainly a compilation of TikTok skits I did that I'm putting together for my YouTube followers who do not follow me on TikTok. And that's okay. I'm not asking you to. I just want you to enjoy this compilation of funny, mediocre ideas I did. Here we go. Hoka. Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 1. When your bed is up off the floor and has matching sheets. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 2. When all your baby daddies are doing 90 days and counting. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 3. When none of your kids are rocking silver teeth. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 4. When she admits that your mom's fried bread is better than hers. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 5. When you have actual bar soap instead of dish soap in your shower. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 6. When you bail him out of jail. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 7. When she sees and says nothing about your knits when she's braiding your hair. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 8. When you wear ball gear to lounge around in, but you know how to play. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 9. When you take care of his kids because he doesn't. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 10. When you cook your hot dogs in a frying pan, then cut them up and add them to Kraft mac and cheese. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 11. When you add that extra cup of sugar to the Kool-Aid. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 12. When you actually use that coffee can full of bacon grease to cook his potatoes in. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 13. When you try to sell him a brick of commodity cheese. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 14. When you drink a whole pot of coffee before going to sleep. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 15. When she believes you when you say you could have played varsity in high school. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 16. When you catch him in bed with your cousin. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 17. When you bring generic soda to the tribal gatherings, but you buy Pepsi for home. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 18. When all 5 of your kids have different last names. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 19. When even standing right next to you while you're fully dressed in your regalia proves difficult to tell if you're wearing 1 feather or 2. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 20. Even though you're non-native, but you know who Victor is. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 21. When you kick him out of your grandma's house, but then you start crying when he tries to leave. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 22. When you're making him a bologna sandwich, and then you add potato chips to it. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 23. When you buy him all kinds of things with your children's per cap. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 24. Y'all ain't ready for this. Playing Scrabble, and she plays Skoden or Stewardess. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 25. When you let him use your car all day while you're at work. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 26. When you can make powdered milk taste like real milk. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 27. When you snag him Friday night after powwow, and he wakes up Monday morning to stepkids. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 28. When your backup's singing right behind him, but your baby daddy is straight across from him. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 29. When you know all the back roads and fire roads that avoid the tribal cops. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 30. When you actually play ball instead of just shoot threes. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 31. When you rock a real thick Res accent, but your speech is that of a highly educated Indian woman. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 32. When you tell him you wish your kids could have him as their dad. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 33. When, during an argument, you are clearly losing, you go and say, my grandma was right about you. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 34. When you turn on your hotspot so he can finally use his phone. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 35. When you buy new things with your per cap just so you can have stuff to pawn in between per cap. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 36. When you buy you and him Mickey D's on your way back from casino, but later on you feed your kids Top Ramen. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 37. When you invite him over for steak night and you serve him a real thick slice of backstrap. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 38. When you finally let him snag, but only because you caught your baby daddy with your cousin. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 39. When he's speaking the language, but you're constantly correcting him. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 40. When you and his baby mama throw down and you end up winning. Oh, and you're not the ugly one. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 41. Even though y'all just snagged over the weekend, she lets you pawn her kids' PS4 just so you can get more beer. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 42. When y'all can give each other a toxic relationship. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 43. When she introduces you to everyone else on her res, but her parents. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 44. When at the basketball tournament, she fights the woman of the dude who fouled you hella hard. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 45. When you let him snag, Even when he gets consolation at drum contests, stick game tournaments, basketball tournaments, softball tournaments. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 46. When you send her a YOLO saying y'all should link up and go get tacos, but on Snapchat she says only if it's Indian tacos. Hola! Things that turn native men on to the max. Part 47. When you start telling people he's your bae instead of your cousin. Voila! Things that turn native men onto the max. Part 48. When his team wins the basketball tournament, so that night, for celebration, you treat him like a champion should be treated, even though he didn't play a single minute all weekend. Voila! Okay, a little backstory for Part 49. When I originally started this series, I had the intention of doing only 49 because, in Indian country, 49 is a sacred number. But anyway, for Part 49, it took me almost a year, if not a little more than, since Part 48. The reason being is because I had a specific idea on how I wanted to do it. I wanted a co-star. I wanted to collaborate with someone. I've asked numerous friends. I've reached out to fellow TikTokers and fellow snappers and what have you. Very few got back to me, and the ones that have, the few of those, they did not feel comfortable enough to say the line that I wanted them to say. But during an adventure to Seattle, I met up with a friend I've known for many years, and it didn't take much, coercion to say the line in Part 49, and she hit it spectacular. Stay tuned for after Part 49 because there is bonus content of the first draft for Part 49. And you tell me which was the better draft, the original one or the one that made it to Part 49. Okay? Here we go. The end of an era. Things that turn native men onto the max. Part 49. When he tells you y'all can't snag because you're related.
Yeah, Indian way, but not colonizer way. Hola.
The end of an era. Things that turn native men onto the max. Part 49. When he tells you y'all can't snag because you're related.
Yeah, Indian way, but not colonizer way.
Hola! Well, there you have it. Thank you for watching. I will do better, or actually I should say I will do my best to put out more mediocre content. But until then, thank you for watching this video. Leave a comment to which version you liked better, the original version that was in my draft or the one that made the cut to be Part 49. Thank you.